Hi everyone, welcome to the Raven Wolf channel. This is Anna, and today on the Raven Wolf Talk, I have Sue. So thank you, Sue, for coming and sharing this space with me today.
We appreciate being on here. It'll be fun.
Yes, it's been a while. I know I had you on before, you and Brian. Last year, or not last year. The beginning, I don't know, a few months ago. Because remember, I was not in this place. I was in my old apartment.
Right.
So, how's things going? Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Pretty good. Oh my gosh, it's been a little crazy last few days. Just go with that. Crazy.
Yeah, my son. Usually holidays go.
Yeah, my son did come to town, so that was fun.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Yeah, was that was that planned or was it a surprise?
It was kind of a last minute surprise.
Oh, cool.
That was good.
Yeah, those are nice surprises.
I wish he lived closer to home.
Where he lives?
He lives up in Arkansas, Fayetteville. He's up where the up there where the University of Arkansas is. Trying to find his way. Right. I'm torn between get the degree, and because he hasn't finished his degree, he's just working. It's like I know in my mind, it's like I know that you don't need that degree, it's just more indoctrination. But on the other hand, it's like
in the 3D world, you need the degree.
Yeah, if you want it. So it's a dilemma.
Oh yeah, I bet we all have those dilemmas.
Yeah,
actually, I find myself like not wanting to really. I'm a hermit as it is already, but I don't know. I find it difficult to go out with friends. I mean, I love them and everything. That hasn't changed, but it's just like family or people. They're just so not awake, and I feel like I have to pretend to be somebody. Agree with things that I really don't like. Not be me, because if I'm me, they'll be shocked.
It's the age-old belonging thing. It's like that's how we're hardwired as humans. We're hardwired to have community, to belong, to make a difference, and so that becomes the dilemma when this is what society looks like. It takes a lot of courage. But what I've found as I've gotten older is it's like you can kind of be in the world but not of the world. You find, like, I'm like you, I've become much more of a hermit, and I'm happier that way.
Yeah.
So I don't find the need to fit in so much anymore, but at times you still need the community and family and that kind of thing. So it's kind of you just find a way to kind of choose your words
point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know that Ransom and I, we talked about it in one of his last videos about, because I think he was doing some news that saying that, I forgot exactly the news, but it was something about that people need to socialize on the real world, not on, on social media and stuff, because that can become a problem. And I agree. Like, I think that you need to have people in the physical that you can visit and talk to and interact.
Right.
And, but, everything's about balance, right? So if you do that and you keep it, where you have friends, like actually one of my closest friends are on YouTube, are people that I met on YouTube, people that I consider like sisters or,
people that you can really be yourself with. Yeah, I found that too. Even, YouTube or my friends are like all over the world, just from random things that I've gotten involved in. Denmark.
And it's like a safe place, I guess you want to call it, where you can just be yourself and talk about weird things that the other person is not going to think that was weird because they can relate, or, because if you would be talking about things that, you would talk with them to other people, regular people, they'll be like, oh my gosh, they just lost their mind.
Yeah. So. Yep, you're right. And they do, people, I have this one friend here that one dog, and now the other dog's coming in.
Oh, it's fine. Most of my videos, either you hear my dog scratching because he has really bad skin problems, or the other one just with a squeaky toy. She goes and finds it, and of course she plays with it. So yeah, there no worries.
Anyway, so I have this one friend here, I'll go get together with from time to time, and she cannot have a conversation about the chemtrail things to the point of, it's just like she thinks it's so ridiculous, and it's just
like, don't you see?
Astounding to me, because she's supposedly a really smart person. She has a degree in, I forget, physics or electrical engineering or something, and it's like, look up and put one and one together, but you can't have a conversation with her because she gets really kind of ugly about it, like laughing at you about it, just like
you're making no sense, you're dumb, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's just, it baffles me too. Like, I don't understand, especially with like chemtrails, like especially when they spraying really bad, and like you obviously can see, and the typical X mark thingy that they do with the chemtrails, and when you see that, you think, don't other people sees that that's not normal?
Yeah.
And that those lines turn into weird looking clouds that are not really clouds because they're like chemtrail clouds. So it's like, why is people not seeing them, aware? But I know why. There's a lot of, distractions and phone but yeah, it's I'm guilty. I'm guilty too, right?
We all are. Well, and here we are, using the social media and the
yeah,
part of the world.
Yeah. But all right. Well, I'm glad you had a good one, a good Thanksgiving with your son and stuff.
Thank you. What about you? Did you have a good one?
Yeah. I have an uncle and 2 cousins. One is married and the other one is not. But they're from my dad's side of the family, and I'm not really close to my dad's side of the family. In fact, last time I saw my cousin and my uncle was when he got married 3 years ago. So that tells you how close we are, right?
Yeah.
But now, surprisingly, my cousin called me and invited me to his house with my uncle and my other cousin and his wife to have Thanksgiving. So that was nice. I was not expecting that. So that was nice. And I get along with them fine. And it was nice. We played some games and it was nice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, and then
hard not to get caught up in the programming.
Yeah.
The programming around Thanksgiving or Christmas or any of them. It's like that's starting to be my big dilemma every year with the holidays. It's like, wow, because you get caught up in the like, for me, like you, I'm divorced, and it's like for years I love to just spend the holiday alone. I really do. It's just like, especially like Thanksgiving, I'm like, oh, just don't, all that food. But then in your mind, I still fight the battle of, because none of my family lives here, so I may as well just spend it alone.
I'm in the same place. None of my family lives here. My cousin and my uncle, but last time I saw him, so
but then you think, oh, I should be doing, there's something wrong with me because I'm not spending Thanksgiving with someone.
And I think with the social media thing, it makes it worse because Facebook, you see all your friends and family getting together and they're having these amazing pictures, and you're like by yourself just watching movies.
What is wrong with me?
Eating ice cream. I don't know.
Yeah, eating ice cream, sitting on the couch in the dark, eating ice cream.
Yeah. So, it is. Yeah, it's completely new. This is a new, definitely, territory for me because, my parents are gone. Well, they're in Mexico, and, it's the first year that I'm by myself. So, I'm learning to what's the word? I'm learning to be by myself.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful place to be. You can.
And I feel like yourself. I was obviously forced to be in this position, and it's. I'm starting to like it because I like, but it was definitely an adjustment for sure.
That's great. I guess is there too much noise coming in from the background?
A little bit. I mean, not.
Let me close this door really quick. Sorry.
No problem. So I hope you guys are having a good weekend.
Sorry. Why do I own dogs?
Yeah. You know, I love my dogs. I really do. But they're a lot.
Yeah, they are a lot. They're a lot of work, and they're
like
expensive.
If you want to go out of town, you cannot just leave them like if they're cats. So it's like me. Like if I can't find somebody to watch them, I'm stuck here.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you.
So,
yeah. Every time
I love my pets. I just they're a lot.
I can totally relate. Every time I leave town, I have to you have to pay someone to come and take care of them. It's expensive. They're expensive, but I love them. So
yeah,
that's why I have two.
Yeah. What kind of dogs do you got?
They're both mutts. One of them is like I think he's American Bulldog. He's like huge, 110 pounds.
Wow.
And then but the mother was a red healer. So like when we got him, they're both rescue dogs. And we got him. I'm like, oh, I'm going to have this little, maybe 50-pound dog.
Nope.
And they knew too, those people, they knew because they asked me, well, what would happen if he got really big? And I'm like,
oh, he said they asked you that?
They asked me that. I'm like, well, then I'd have a really big dog. It's like, they knew. Yeah. Because I was thinking, but I'm not going to have a really big dog. So, but anyway, but I do have a really big dog. And then the other one is he's actually a terrier mix, like a pit mix. The mother was a pit, and I don't know what the father was. He's a great little dog, a little neurotic. Pits, I think, they're very fearful dogs. I think that's probably why they end up getting, to be so aggressive. But
I love pit bulls.
They're so like loyal. They're so want to please. And that's just what they want to do.
Yes.
So they're great. They are great dogs. He's a sweetie. He's a little higher energy dog. Not really a great match for me.
How old is he?
Simba is, I think, 3, a little over 3.
Oh.
And Jake is going on 10.
Oh, wow. That's kind of similar from me because my dog Buddy, he's 12 years old. And then my other dog, she is going to be 2. Or she's going to be 2 or 3. I forgot. I got her in 2017? 16? Yeah. I don't know. I can't really remember if it was 2016 or 17, but yes, 2 or 3 years. And yeah, she has a lot of energy. I have to walk her. When I don't walk her, she goes crazy in the house.
Yep, I get that.
And she's pit bull. Like you can tell more she's a pit bull than my other one. The other one looks more like a golden retriever, but supposedly his dad was a Rottweiler and the mom was a pit bull. Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the one that kind of looks like a golden retriever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like a red nose, I guess, because a red nose pit. But anyways, they're great dogs. Great dogs. Very loyal, very loving, very pleasing, like you said. Very smart. Too smart.
Dogs are amazing.
Yeah. But the reason why I wanted to have you as a guest is because to me, someone that I'm kind of new at this path and, I'm very curious of finding out how people find their way to where they're at right now, because, I know my story, but I feel like the more we share how we started, the more we can understand other humans, our fellow humans, because that's something that we don't really share much. We just, talk about how, things that we are now and how, forward. But our past has a lot, of who we are.
Yeah. Yep, you're right. And it's good to share too, because then people have different experiences and you can, nobody's experience is any better or worse than others. Sometimes you take a look, like we were talking before, it's like, well, I wasn't like this or wasn't like that. but that doesn't take away from where you're at and who you are, and that other people out there have a similar same sort of path.
Right. Because I was mentioning to you that, you know, I didn't growing up, I never had like paranormal experiences. Like I didn't see ghosts, like, you know, how other people say that from early childhood they could see spirits, or, you know, they had certain, you know, experiences or whatever, or even with UFOs, like stuff like that. And I mean, I never had those experiences when I was growing up. I mean, I can see, looking back, certain things happened to me, but I just, since I didn't, like, for example, when I was, I think, 12 years old, I saw the Virgin Mary in the sky, in the clouds, like a vision kind of thing. But I just thought, oh, it was just the shapes of the, you know, my rational mind, my 12-year-old rational mind. I didn't think, oh, it was a vision. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I can look back in my childhood when I was growing up, little things like that, you know, definitely was something. But when you know, no major, like I just saw a spirit crossing by in front of me, like nothing like that. So I was curious to know, how was your upbringing like in that?
Actually, we're so similar. Course, because then I'm Catholic also, you know, Italian Catholic, and I didn't have any kind of a, looking back, there maybe was one sort of paranormal experience, I don't know, but you know, the same sort of thing as you. Nothing. The only thing with me was when I got into my teen years, is my mom had books, like she had the book Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which I don't know if you've ever read that book, but it's about this seagull who wants to fly differently than the other seagulls do, and he learns to ultimately fly like almost interdimensionally or something.
Oh,
but
wow.
So there were some like books, but in my mind, I'm like, I don't understand how people that were different religions don't end up in heaven. And I don't understand how, you know, God is this, but God is, you know, God is angry and vengeful. But I mean, it just, my mind, young mind, is just like, didn't make any sense.
Yes.
And so, and I came to the conclusion somehow. I don't remember, you know, like I said, my mom had some books that were a little off topic, like Cahill Gibran, and she had the Jonathan Livingston Seagull book, just these little crumbs that kind of led me. And I came to the conclusion that reincarnation had to be real, because you could look at the progression of man from caveman to how on a spiritual level, like, you know, mental level, how they've developed. So I'm like, it totally makes sense. And this was just me just coming to the conclusion young. But really what it was for me as I started getting older was books. Books would come in. But I did want to share, I have also and I find it interesting, of course, because we have the whole Catholic background, but I went to a camp, a CYO camp every summer for a few summers. And probably right around the same time, one year we were doing our overnight, and we had this whole experience of kind of bonding where the group, we started opening up to each other and just sharing all of our deepest, and it was just a spontaneous thing where we were sitting around the campfire and we were all talking and sharing. And at one point we looked up at the trees, and there was the Virgin Mary.
Oh my gosh, so
yeah,
that's crazy.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. And there, you know, we all saw it, and it was like, we could see it kind of in the tree, and we knew, you know, there was something
more than
supernatural going on. But I find it interesting at this point in my life, looking back, that it's the Virgin Mary thing, which now I don't, as far as that goes, I don't really know that person as is presented even exists. And so I find it interesting the way we kind of create, it's an archetype of energy, but, you know, you kind of create the experience. But anyway, that's all. So so for me, it was more books as I got older, living, loving, learning I got hit by a car when I was in college.
Oh, wow. I
broke both of my legs, and I had a little incident over the weekend where I was kind of mentally completely checked out. I never did know what was, and that never stopped, but, you know, kidding. But so that experience also, I think, while I don't remember getting hit, and I don't really have any sort of quote unquote near-death experience aspect of it, that's when the books really started coming. And I got interested in, so I was 18 at the time, and I got interested in just a different way from the living, loving, learning. There's a different way of just loving people and loving the experience. And I got interested in astrology. Astrology, when you really start looking into it, it's not in the predictive sense, like the little things that you would read in the paper, but the traits, just in understanding people, like the astrology that you do. I mean, I found it so fascinating.
Yeah. It really goes deep, and it's kind of creepy sometimes, because it really, tells one's imprint of behavior from, the astrology point. Yeah.
And it was great for understanding other people. So, and of course at the time it was more about relationship and getting interested in a relationship, and how the relationships with what my ex-husband was at the time, and so that was fascinating. So that was kind of how I really got into the more.
Were you the kind of person, well, I mean, I think that was a yes, but the kind of person that even from a young age, when you face some kind of difficulties, you always try to find, like, for example, with me, when growing up and when I will be facing certain things in my teenage years, stuff like that, I will always go back to two things. To church, I will want to get, closer to God, because for a long time I believed that when I will separate myself from religion, that's when bad things started happening to me. So every time something bad will happen to me, then I will realize it's because I was not close with God. So I have to go back to that, so I won't have bad things happening. So I will get back to religion. And second, I will do a lot of, how do you call it? Introversion, like finding out why is my behavior this, what's going, like I always, from a very young age, I always look inwards to see what's wrong. Why is my behavior this? People are telling me that I do this, so why are they saying that? Like trying to find out. I have books, to self how do you call it? Not self-heal, but
self-help
issues. Self-improvement or whatever.
They're called self-help books.
Yes.
Self-help.
So I wonder if that was the same with you.
Yeah, for sure. And while you were saying that, I remembered another, speaking of, the whole thing, when I also spent a school year in Florence, Italy. And when it was through Gonzaga University, so it was still a Catholic thing, but we had to take religion when we were over there. And in the religion class, the guy, forget his last name, I know his first name was Dan. He was very more spiritual, and we did a book called The Kingdom of Heaven is Within. And it talks about this is the more like new agey orientation towards the teachings of Jesus, where the kingdom of heaven is within. And so that's spot on, because I was like you, the same. It was more of an inward thing. And once you've got little pieces of permission, I like to call it, this is, this makes sense to me. That was a big launching point for me, that book. And once you kind of get the permission to go within and figure it out for yourself, that's when my life is. Yeah.
I remember reading a few books of Joyce Meyer. She's a very famous Christian. Are you familiar with her or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, but yeah, and I was gonna say, with the whole religion thing, because growing up, I'm sure you went to Catholics, or not Catholic school, but Sunday school,
Both.
Well, yeah, wow. And there was things that you will hear about the Old Testament, like pretty much this is how they put it to me. The Old Testament was the wrathful God or whatever, and the New Testament is he figured out that being revengeful and like that did not work with humans, so he changed his tactic to more a loving kind of. So that's why the Catholics focus more on the New Testament than in the Old Testament, because I don't know, I only started learning about the Old Testament when I went to Christians church. I mean, I knew the basics about Adam and Eve and, you know, basic stories, the story of Babel, like, but not in detail. Like the Christians they go back to that. So I always had questions like, well, why God was mean and now he's not? That's messed up. And like things that about reincarnation, the Catholics believe about, how do you call it? In between worlds?
Purgatory.
Purgatory. But yet they don't believe in reincarnation.
Right. Right.
So like, what? So little things like that. And I also, when I separate from Catholic and just went to Christian, it never made sense to me because a lot of like people around me, friends and stuff, they will worry about their husbands or people that they care salvation, that whenever they die and they go to heaven, if they don't repent for whatever and they don't convert, if they don't love Jesus and accept Jesus as what they said, the Lord and Savior and the only one, then they will not be together in heaven. And I'm like, well, that's messed up. Because what about if people is a good person, but yet they don't believe in Jesus? Yeah. That means you're striked out, you don't go to heaven. That's messed up.
Exactly. It is messed up. It is messed up. Yeah. And that is same with me, you know, the big turning point. What if you're born in Africa and you're born in the jungle and you never get exposed to it? So you mean you don't go to heaven? Because that doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. So that was, you know, similar to that, what happened with my upbringing. But so with the books, you started with the books, and that's how I agree with what you said, that once you allow to go in, you know.
Yeah.
Open the
that was the big thing. And then you start into, like, you're talking about the self-help books. One of the big ones for me was Wayne Dyer, who has now passed on, but his books are really a lot of, you know, really open up. They were more mainstream. And Louise Hay, you can heal your body. Where you know, it's more about the internal healing. You know, these were like the little things, the safer books.
Yeah.
As we're trying to break away from the religious aspect, it's like, oh, you know, it says in the Bible, it says right in there, astrology is evil.
It's the evil. Yeah. It's from the devil.
Right.
Divination is from the devil. Everything is from the devil.
Yeah. And so that became the harder aspect for me. Plus which, like, I went to college, you know, I have a degree in business. I'm a business person. And so when I got really interested more in the, as I got older, I met a gal that, massage actually, got like my first massage. I was going to a counselor that was a little more into the new agey type approach. Mine was very slow because I have this like linear thinking brain, and to open up, to let go of all the programming, to open up, it just took a process. So it was like into my late 20s before I was into, you know, really started getting into stuff. And I found Greg Braden was another one. His books are amazing and awesome because he takes science, and then he takes these, you know, some of the more esoteric concepts and puts them together. So that was a key piece for me because I needed to be able to quantify it in my mind because I'm a linear thinker. And, you know, and then I started I found this little bookstore. It was a metaphysical bookstore here in the Dallas area. And they had psychics, and, you know, I had my first like reading, and it was just like, you know, just a slow progression. I started working at the bookstore, and then when I got pregnant with my son, my intuition really opened up, and I started actually reading cards and, you know, working, you know, that aspect of things. And I don't even like to call it a psychic, because what I do when I do the cards is more about intuitive counseling to me than anything, but it's whatever. So, you know, that was really how I got into it. Into the metaphysical aspect of things. But then the whole other piece of the conspiracy theory aspect, you know, then you bring those together because it's like mine was with, of course, JFK, the deliberate, you know, the deliberate
living in Dallas, of course.
Fascinated me. My brother to this day, I think he still believes the lone gunman. He sent me a book at one point in my life. The Case Closed is the name of it. This big, thick book about how Lee Harvey Oswald was the only gunman. It was all based on the
like, give it up, Sue, it's over.
The Warren Commission. Just hilarious. So, that was another aspect. Once I stopped doing the more metaphysical stuff for a while there, because I did that. I made a living for a while just doing the readings and stuff. And then after I had my son, it was like I was a single mom. So I'm like, well, I need a more stable income. So I got out of that and started working again. And that's when the more the conspiracy theory stuff started to come in. And, that has been an interesting, now the two are really dovetailed together.
Exactly. So, yeah. My awakening started the opposite. I started with, well, it's funny because in 2000, I think my higher self was trying to wake me up back then spiritually, but I was not ready. In 2013, because on 45 on the freeway here, close where I live, on the feeder road, there's a psychic, a little house that has psychic, and I always see it. So in 2013, when I was going through some personal stuff, out of the blue, I felt drawn to go get a reading. But of course, I told someone, and that someone discouraged it. So I ended up not doing it. And that's when I started seeing also 11:11 at night. Like always at night at the same time. Like, why? So I think my higher self was trying to wake me up, but I was not ready spiritually. So I started waking up with the government, the corruption, So that's how it started to me with the big pharma, mafia. And, one rabbit hole took it to another one. And so that's how it started for me. And then the spiritual stuff came later.
Right. Either way, it all works.
Yeah.
One thing that I will say that was another, even at this point in time when I came across Jeff Doherty last year through, I forget how, it was from Rex's channel, I guess. It's just kind of funny how you end up on, for me, like to end up on YouTube. How I even got started on YouTube, I really don't even know as far as even watching it. I think it may have had to do with doing football picks. And I found that Zachary K. Hubbard, the Gematria Fake News, that guy, and I stumbled on Gematria. It's been how many years ago now? I think 3 years ago now. And that I loved it because that's numbers. I'm kind of a numbers person, and you could put, Gematria, that stuff is amazing. Anyway, I won't go on about that. But I came across with Jeffrey Doherty back when he was doing the Bible stuff. And finally that I loved getting that link because it really took that long to finally let go of the Bible programming. It really did, where he was able to point out how the New Testament was put together and how Paul was really an agent of Rome. And it's so obvious.
And I don't know about you, but I watched that that Paul, because I think he had that Paul series, Paul the Apostle series.
Yeah.
And Jeff. But I, as a Christian, I looked up to, kind of Paul because, oh, wow, Paul was a persecutor, a killer of Christians. And then, in the way to Damascus, he got blinded by God and he changed. If he could change, and he was like kind of like a hero. Oh, wow. Like he was one of my favorite apostles, to tell you the truth. And then I started listening to Jeff and the things he's saying. And I'm like, okay. Yes, it makes sense. Yes. Oh, wow. Right on the face. It's so right
in the face.
Wow. Brainwash, indoctrination. Yep. Happened. Dogmatic. Yep. You don't question it. Yep.
That's a face palm right there. Because when you think about it, it's like, why would Jesus ever, make someone who wasn't even part of his original crew over? It makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
It's like you forget. I even would forget that he wasn't an original apostle. Right. He wasn't a disciple.
He was a persecutor of Christians.
I don't know. So that was great. That was a nice, I love that, getting that that piece, just being able to
Yeah.
really see it all. And then, then the rug, once you pull the rug out from under yourself, you're kind of like casting around for
Like, what's
something to hold
next?
on. Yeah. Kind of scary at
It
the
is.
same time as being very nice and being very, very freeing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It
It's interesting. That's for sure. It reminds me of another book that I had read from Deepak Chopra. I think it's called The Third Jesus. And he took the sayings of Jesus, and what I loved about the book was he didn't have the programming around words. Like we have programming around the word sin, for example. And to us, sin is this one thing and we're going to hell. But to someone who wasn't a Christian, it's just another word.
Right.
So he was able to take it and break it down and make it, and you could see how really the sayings of Jesus or the words of Jesus are very Eastern in their philosophy. He's really teaching the same message as the Buddha was teaching, for example.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that was another really influential book as far as being willing to see that we have conditioning and programming around some of these words. And so when we hear them, we automatically get triggered. And when you can step out of the triggers and see that, just a word and you're assigning meaning to it, or then, it makes it a completely different experience. And the teachings of Jesus are a completely different experience, or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
I think there was a person somewhere in there. There's a person that they take the sayings and they blend it in with the rest of the story that,
oh wow,
from the,
yeah,
the most of the Jesus story as in the Bible, I personally don't believe in anymore at all.
Yeah. I still have some conflicting, I haven't come to one understanding yet so far, but I'm starting to believe, the more I do research and stuff, I'm starting to believe that the Bible is just different stories of different, like a story pretty much. I mean, a made up thing.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that Christ conscious or, that's not real, but like Jesus as the man, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I haven't come to an understanding yet where I could say, oh, to me, this just, I don't know. I can't say that at this moment. I'm sure I will eventually. But I'm still, obviously can still see the deprogramming working.
Yeah, it's just ongoing. It seems like always. It just takes awareness, really, when you get triggered into something. Because I remember points in years and years ago when I would meet people that would be very, very Christian, and they like yoga is a sin, and I had a hard time even though I knew in my head, there were still hooks, and you would kind of doubt yourself. You're like, man, I hope I'm right about this.
Yeah, exactly. And also learning about the Book of Enki and the stories there, and it's a lot of those stories that are in the Bible, so it makes you wonder where did they came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's interesting. And as we've been talking to, I've been thinking, because to me the Jewish religion, like Kabbalah, there's some wisdom in their process and in the Kabbalah.
Yeah. And
when I started thinking about it, with the Bible, basically, Saul, his name was Saul originally,
right?
When you think about the teachings of the Jews, they believe that basically any non-Jew is it's in their text that non-Jews are just here to serve them.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so when you start thinking about the Bible which comes out of the Jewish tradition, the Old Testament is Jewish, and I'm almost beginning to think the whole thing isn't just a control, just a plan of control. Here's a religion for those that are non-Jewish, and this way we can keep them all under control and doing because they're going to serve us. I don't know. This is just coming.
That's a very interesting point, which it makes it much possible, really knowing what we know, how things work.
Right? When you look at who's really controlling, or what it appears to us as who's in control, and a lot of the elite,
Yeah.
quote unquote, they're Jewish.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
Not to discount the
No, of course not.
outside of that circle, that religious aspect. But then getting back to the Kabbalah and their steps to spirituality, and in the Kabbalah, not just anyone can learn the Kabbalah. You have to be to a certain level within and they don't. I don't think they used to be able. They used to teach it to women. Women couldn't learn, only men.
Wow. Yeah.
So when you get into the really orthodox aspects of it, but anyway, I don't know. I'm not an expert in that area. Just little bits.
Yeah, I don't really know much about that religion or that at all. But I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned that whenever you got pregnant with your son, that's when your intuition picked up, right? And that's something that I've been asking to people, that are connected and stuff. And because I hear that a lot, that, when you're pregnant, there's something that makes your intuition or the psychic side of you heighten.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, is it because you're carrying an extra soul with you?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. Yeah. I don't know the why of it, but yeah, you got all kinds of stuff going on in there.
I mean, only women can carry a soul.
Here's another aspect of it, though, that I think has something to do with it. Of course, when you're pregnant, you got a lot going on hormonally.
Right.
And it stimulates there's a lot going on in the endocrine system and the reproductive, or the like sexual glands. And there's a direct connection between the endocrine system and your connection to source, or to the spiritual world, because the pineal gland and the pituitary gland are part of the endocrine system. So I think that when you're pregnant and you have the hormonal aspect going on, I mean, I think that probably happens monthly with women anyway, when you get to that part of the cycle, when your hormones are at their highest. I think you're also at your most intuitive. And they used to have women used to do this red, they called it a red tent, and they would do it around the new moon, which is typically when you're in the flow. I think it's the new moon or full moon. Anyway, the red tent, which has its own, women would get together, and at this time is when they were at their most intuitive. So I believe it's also a hormonal thing going on in the body. You're just more open to spirit, to your spirituality, because the endocrine system is very activated.
Oh wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And with the moon, well, I feel it more with the full moon. I feel more. Yeah,
but that's what me too.
I feel more synchronicity stuff picking up, more how do you call it? More intuitive stuff start happening, and I feel more connected, more intuitive than other days.
I think it was with women that used to be the time when that used to be the flow time, is the full moon, not the new moon. So I'm pretty sure they would have done it the full moon. But yeah, because the new moon, in order to get pregnant, the body physically, you have to, if you're trying to get pregnant, anyone's trying to get pregnant out there, and you have a lot of light coming into your room, like from clocks or phones, or coming in from the outside, it will disrupt your body's ability to ovulate.
Really?
So, wow. Yep. Yeah. And so it's the new moon, of course, is the darkest. And so that's when the body naturally would ovulate, and then you'd have the 2-week period before the full moon. So that makes sense. So yeah, the new moon is more.
That's so interesting.
That, where I learned that was from, it's the Catholic teaching, their birth control method, their natural family.
Wow.
Yeah. The natural family planning, because you're not supposed to be taking birth control pills if you're a Catholic.
Yeah, because that's a sin.
So yeah, yeah, and it's really fascinating, but it's, you know, it's not woo. I mean, that's how the body works. There's certain things that have to be going on in the body to get pregnant. It's really fascinating that it ever happens at all to me, because there's so many things.
Yeah. That's Ransom was saying that what's it? I don't know if he said it last night. I don't know, that he the only real magic that he's seen in this plane is the creation of a baby. Because, you know, you mix some how do you call it, one something with another something, and you know that does an alchemical process, and the creation is something completely new.
Yeah.
So
it is pretty stunning when you start thinking about it. You start from one cell, just like,
yeah.
Every time I start to think about that whole process,
magic.
It's like mind blown. How do you get from that to this? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's mind blowing for sure. All right. Well, we're heading close to the 1 hour, and I'm trying to see what other questions I have for you. So where's your journey took you now? Where are you at now?
So now, you know, that's an interesting question, because like I said, I had stopped really doing a lot of the more metaphysical things. I had gotten into, I've never been very good at meditating, because I'm a monkey mind, Gemini moon. And
me too. In Vedic.
You have a Gemini moon?
In Vedic, yeah.
Oh, in Vedic? I don't know what I am in Vedic. So I had really, after my second divorce, I really took a look at myself. I'm like, and I realized, one thing I realized about myself, and even from childhood, like I've always been a little bit of a tomboy. I wasn't very feminine in the way I interacted with the world, because I like football and I'm kind of a tomboy and blah, blah, blah. And so I started really looking into how to be feminine. I mean, I really had to like look it up and study. And I've learned that we're not conditioned, women are not conditioned to express the more feminine aspects anymore in life. We're conditioned to express the more masculine. The feminine is a receiving,
it's a way of survival, right? Like,
yeah, and the feminine receives, and you know, the masculine does. I mean, and so, you know, we're not trained. You know, you go to college, you get a job, you have a family, you're super mom, you do everything, and you still have the job. So I went through this process of really trying to study and learn on you know, being more feminine and what that looked like. I mean, I laugh now looking back. It's like, man, you don't, because it just didn't necessarily come naturally to me. I mean, it does, but it had been programmed out. It had been pretty much beat out of me. Yeah. So that, you know, that was where I started taking things in a little bit of a different direction. And it was in the thinking, why do I keep failing at my relationships? You know, and so it was a lot of started working on myself, a lot of working around codependency, and because that was, you know, another issue of mine. And then, so I just started really processing and expanding and growing that way. And then this year in January, it was just weird. I'm in an 11 year, and all of a sudden I get this message, and I'm not a big one like Spirit says, and I'm getting messages and that, but it just came in. It's like, you need to start reading again. I'm like, what? Really? How is that?
Who said so?
How would I even do that? I don't even have a venue for it anymore. The bookstore that I worked at is gone. You know, you got to put yourself out there. And that's how I kind of got started on YouTube, but it was just very clear. You need to just start reading again. So I'm like, oh, fine. And, you know, so I just picked up and started doing things. But also another key part of this is, and, you know, and this kind of dovetails in with the search for the feminine. I had gotten involved with watching Dr. Saida Desolé, and she's from a Taoist tradition about working with energy in the body, from the sexual energy, which is basically life force energy. And I had last November, it's like a year ago now, I had she was doing something in Hawaii this year, and I'd never seen her live, and she's so amazing. She's completely in integrity. She's not out there, you know, like a lot of these people, when they kind of get big, they lose themselves and they become all about the books and the money and the people. And she's just not like that. And she embodies what she teaches. Like, I saw her thing in Hawaii and I'm like, cannot afford this, and I always will take days to make a decision, man. I saw that and I just signed up for it. And I'm like, I'm going to Hawaii. And that just, every aspect of those two things have just changed my life. So right now, what I'm working on is kind of all come together, is I'm actually studying with her to be one of her ambassadors to teach. We teach Jade Egg, but to me, it's more about the body work, because you release trauma. You store trauma in your body physically. You store trauma and wounding in your physical body. That's another reason why we have trouble releasing our patterns. It's like muscle memory. Like, I took ballet for years and years when I was younger, and my body still to this day retains the muscle memory from all those years. It's the same thing with wounding and you know, patterns and trauma. You store it in your body, and especially in the reproductive, the sexual center is where that stuff all stores, in the, you know, in the belly area for both men and women. So right now, working with her, and I'm just, you know, I see that what I'm really moving into is working with women and helping them facilitate their growth, because we facilitate our own growth. Nobody can heal us. Nobody can, you know, somebody can give us a little temporary boost or give us, but nobody can heal us. So you can only work with guides. And you know, I don't even like to use the word teachers, but you know, you're guiding people. It's their journey. You just give them the tools, and then they take the tools and they do with it. That's where I'm learning. And to me, it's about helping women come home to themselves, because you know, that's what I'm doing. And I'm really so much more embodied and so happy. Like we were talking about, being content in myself. Mm-hmm. I'm happy alone. I'm happy, you know, when I'm with someone. So it's just getting to that place that I'm really obviously very passionate about, and I'm really enthusiastic about. And so that's where I am. So the reading aspect of it, the sort of intuitive counseling, all kind of ties in together to me. But like I said, my focus is mostly with women.
That's awesome. I find that's great, that, you know, that's why I like to ask the beginning of the journey, you know, because I find amazing how something gets set in motion, and look at you now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so, it all comes together.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what you were saying about the body holds trauma, that resonates a lot. Mm-hmm. And that is like a muscle memory, because how many times people try, you know, they see something that they need to work on. They try, they make progress, but then something will happen where they will get triggered or something, and they will go back to what they always done or what they always known, you know? So finding, you know, being able to, I guess, get rid of that mass memory and, you know, heal it and release it. That's the work. And I think people like you and, you know, will be a major player on that, on helping and teaching people and women, how to release, because nobody teaches that.
Right? Nobody does teach it. Well, Saida teaches it, but
but yes.
And you know, it's funny, because to me I have an example of that, just for my own personal life, which, like, I always was in relationships there was always some form of addiction involved in the other person, right? And like my second marriage especially was the worst as far as addictions go. And I'm like, okay, you know, I knew I had the codependency issue, and I'm like working on all this. I'm like, I had to leave that relationship, and like, I'm done now. I get it. I've learned. And then the next relationship that I got into out of that, it took me a little while to kind of put it all together, but it was another addict. He just had a different, it wasn't drugs and alcohol. It was a different, I'm like, what the hell? I thought, and it just fascinated me. It's not like I run out there looking for addicts, but I think my body responded to that. And that's what I'm attracted to, is that some level of that issue, because if you're healthy, I'm not attracted to you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
oh, I
a
get,
pattern. It's a
yeah,
pattern. We all have patterns in relationships, and the trick is like when you start seeing that over and over with all your personal relationships, it's like, when are you gonna stop and think, like, how many more red flags is the universe is gonna send your way to, like, change your way of doing things?
well, I don't know that it will ever completely change
It will
either.
always be there, you think?
Come to understand there's a certain level of that I don't find the other, I don't find this person's issues attractive. I find this type of issue attractive. So it's about attraction. I see this a lot with other people that I work with. It's like, oh my God, why am I attracted to the same type of person? Well, that's what you're going to be attracted to. That's what's, that, because
like your nature, your essence, I guess.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And there's nothing wrong with it. Then it becomes, okay, I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to learn to work with it. That's integrating the light and the dark.
Balance.
Oh, yeah. It's
being aware of it, but yet you can balance it in a positive way that works out for you.
And make choices of people who maybe, for me, it would be with someone that has awareness of their own issues, like I do. I mean, because what am I but addicted to addicts?
Right.
So it's just its own form of the same version of the same thing. And you're right. It's my kind of, my imprinting is my essence. I don't know that it will ever change. And at this point, I don't care. I'm aware. And so I'm going to learn to work within the pattern. And to me, that's the key.
Yeah. That's what with me, with certain patterns or certain, triggers or thing, like I'm aware where it's coming from, or I'm aware, which I think it does make a difference, that if you don't know, if you're completely in.
Right. That's when you end up just going down the path of and then you're trying, in the case of codependency, you're maybe not overtly trying to change the person, but you're like, oh, if I just am this or I'm that, then he'll change and he'll get better and it's like, that
just never happen.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't, because you're not giving them any incentive to change when you stay in a relationship with them. But so it's just becomes, like you said, you're unaware, then you just keep repeating that over and over. But once you become aware, at least you can make some choices, like, okay, that guy's too far down the path. There's no way, and that isn't attractive anymore. And so,
right, because it will be more of a hassle for you.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a very interesting talk with you, Sue. I knew I had to have you. I'm glad we arranged it where it fitted your schedule and my schedule. So thank you so much for coming to the Raven Wolf channel, and for also being a friend. Thank you. And I really appreciate you and your work and everything that you stand for. I really do.
Sweet. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate you too.
So you guys check out her channel in case if you haven't checked it out. What's the YouTube name now?
Well, there's the Sue G channel, but we have also, I'm doing the quantum, it's called Quantum Souls now, with an S on the end, where, this is where I put out most of my stuff on. It's really the self-help type.
Yes.
It's all about evolving the self to me. So.
Yes, so check her out. I did put a link of her YouTube channel on the description box. So please go check it out, subscribe. And yes, she also do Daily Vibe, which I'm a fan. Yeah. I'm a fan. So yes, I like it. All right, so well, thank you so much. And I'm sure I will see you on YouTube, but happy holidays.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. All right, bye everyone.